Hello and welcome to Maritime Reader. Nigeria's ports are the lifeline of our economy, bustling with containers, cargoes, and constant motion. But behind the flow of goods lies a maze of paperwork, delays, and regulatory hurdles. Containers arrive daily, goods change hands, and ships line up for clearance. Yet, behind this motion lies a struggle that defines the country's trade ecosystem. Freight forwarders, the lifeblood of port operations, continue to navigate a web of bottlenecks, bureaucracy, and inconsistent policies. Nigeria's freight forwarding has shifted from mere operations to a broader debate about reform, innovation, and integrity. As modernization sweeps through the global trade, Nigeria stands at a critical point between old practices and new possibilities. This will be our focus on today's show. I am Nneoma Obi-Asualo. Nigeria's freight forwarding industry is at a crossroad, a place where modernization meets the weight of old systems. The need for synergy between regulators, customs, and operators has never been more urgent. The industry's success will not depend on policies alone, but on integrity, professionalism, and a shared vision for the future. If the right reforms are driven with consistency and collaboration, Nigeria can transform its freight forwarding landscape from one of bottlenecks and bureaucracy to one of efficiency, innovation, and global credibility. Before we get further into today's lineup on the program, let's find out the latest in maritime news.
The Nigerian Navy has appointed Commodore A.O. Odejobi as its new Director of Naval Information. Odejobi, a naval pilot and seaman, is expected to resume the role on 7th November 2025. He takes over from Commodore Iwiyo Adams Aliyu, who has been redeployed as the commanding officer of NNS Lugard in Lokoja, Kogi State. Until his new appointment, Commodore Odejobi served as the commander of NNS Maduike in Enugu. The Secretary General of the Maritime Organization of West and Central Africa, Dr. Paul Adaliku, has strengthened the organization's maritime capacity development drive through a partnership with the government of Indonesia, resulting in the successful training of instructors and assessors from member states. The collaboration follows the signing of a partnership grant agreement between MOCA and Indonesia's Ministry of Transportation, aimed at strengthening human capital development within the African maritime sector. Under the agreement, Indonesia fully sponsored a training of trainers course and a training for assessment, examination, and certification of seafarers, both based on IMO model courses. Participants in the program included representatives from Cameroon, Congo, Côte d'Ivoire, Liberia, Democratic Republic of Congo, Gabon, Guinea-Bissau, Nigeria, Senegal, Sierra Leone, the Gambia, and regional maritime institutions such as the Regional Maritime University in Ghana, ARSTM from Côte d'Ivoire, the Maritime Academy of Nigeria, the Nigerian Institute of Transportation Technology, and Limbe Nautical Arts and Fisheries Institute in Cameroon. Ghana and Vanuatu have deposited instruments of accession to the 2012 Cape Town Agreement on the safety of fishing vessels and their crews, bringing the total number of states acceding to the agreement to 25. Dr. Kamaldeen Ali, Director General of the Ghana Maritime Authority, and Ralph Regenvanu, Minister for Climate Change Adaptation, Energy, Environment, Meteorology, Geohazards and Disaster Management of Vanuatu, deposited their instruments with IMO Secretary General Arsenio Dominguez at the IMO headquarters. Now, the Cape Town Agreement, once in force, will bring in mandatory international safety requirements for fishing vessels of 24 meters in length and over, including provisions addressing stability and associated seaworthiness, machinery and electrical installations, life-saving appliances, communications equipment, and fire protection, as well as fishing vessel construction. For the agreement to enter into force, at least 22 states with an aggregate 3,600 fishing vessels meeting the length requirement operating on the high seas must express their consent to be bound by it. Ghana and Vanuatu's ascension brings the total number of fishing vessels to 3,016. The agreement will be a useful tool in combating illegal, unreported and unregulated fishing and forced labor, as well as reducing pollution from fishing vessels, including marine debris.
Welcome back. If you are just joining us, this is Maritime Reader. The story of freight forwarding in Nigeria is one of endurance and adaptation. Port operations, though central to trade, remain plagued with challenges from port congestion and multiple charges to overlapping agency functions that frustrate clearance timelines. The question then is, why do Nigeria's ports still struggle despite years of reform promises? Customs modernization has brought digital systems, automation, and new processes aimed at speeding up trade. Yet, for many freight forwarders, questions linger about the real impact. Has digitization really truly simplified clearance or merely added new layers of complexity? At the center of the industry's regulation stands the Council for Regulation of Freight Forwarding in Nigeria, CRFFN, the body tasked with instilling professionalism and structure. But practitioners continue to question its effectiveness and independence. Is CRFFN truly protecting the freight forwarders' interest, or is it bogged down by politics and limited enforcement power? Beyond policies and payments lies a deeper concern of professionalism and integrity. Allegations of corruption, document manipulation, and unethical practices continue to shadow port operations. How can transparency and accountability be restored to a system that should represent trust and trade? And as the world embraces smarter ports, e-commerce, logistics, and green supply chains, Nigeria's freight forwarders face a defining question: what is the true vision for the industry's future? Is there a coordinated plan to make Nigeria's freight sector globally competitive, or will it remain reactive to challenges rather than proactive in innovation? Our guest, Abdulazeez Mukaila, a customs broker and managing director, Miki Excellency Nigeria Limited, seeks to give perspective to these questions. These and many more after the short break. Please stay with us. So it's good to have you join us again on the show, sir.
My pleasure.
Talking about freight forwarders. So let's get to it. So given today's terminal congestion, vessel delays, and infrastructural gaps, what's your assessment of Nigeria's freight forwarding sector? And why do you think Nigeria's ports still struggle with this congestion, delays, and high operational costs despite years of various reforms?
Yeah, thank you for having me again. It was a compounded question, and I hope I will be able to do a bit of it.
I trust you as usual.
Okay, you nail it on the head. The real issue primarily is about the infrastructural gap. You don't give what you do not have. Okay, the government spending on maritime structure in the last 30, 40 years has been very stagnant. Even when the government felt the port should be privatized, I won't dare say the BP didn't do a good job of follow-up. A follow-up as regards the structure, equipment, and facility the concessionaire promised to impute or inject into the system. So basically, it is about the willpower of Nigeria government to compete globally that is lacking. The congestion in the port is still all about the gap, about infrastructure. You have a port that is not well lit. Globally, ports operate 24 hours. But in Nigeria's system, most of the ports' environment are not well lit. Even the global practice of doing a lot of solar around the port facility is just getting little traction. So, port doesn't sleep, but it's only in Nigeria that our port sleeps. So these are the basic issue, okay? A port environment is a 24/7 thing. Government need to do more. If you talk about congestion, the lay time of the vessel, the turnaround time, although there's been some improvement, I would say that. There is this collaboration of the government, entity, and some private sectors. The European Union has a HEM, I think they are called Maritime Advocacy Group. I've been part of their efforts. We have gotten an improvement in the turnaround time of vessels. The Nigerian factor that delays vessel, there's been some considerable reduction in that, if you understand what I mean by Nigerian factor. So, because gone are the day that for a vessel to call Ghanaian port, maybe within $2,000, $5,000 they're out. But in Nigeria, you have to spend close to $50,000, $60,000 to do the same thing.
That's like?
I don't know what percentage you want to give that. And that scares a lot of vessels out of our system. But there's been some concerted efforts, really, from this MAG group. It was a collaboration of some countries in Europe to help Nigerian ports to be able to compete. So basically, the issue is too manifold, but the real critical mass of the fault will still be put at the door of the government of Nigeria.
That which is political will.
Political will.
Wow. Political will.
Yes.
That gap, 5,000 to 56?
Yes.
I don't want to think about that. So let's continue. Customs says it's moving to more paperless, risk-based processing from our daily experience. So how far has customs modernization or digitalization gone? And is it really easing cargo clearance for freight forwarders? You are on ground.
Of course.
So how has these innovations, has it made any difference?
Yes, I want to give it to the current management of Nigeria Customs Service. Their focus and their determination to digitalize, you cannot overemphasize that. They were doing their best. It has really helped the process. It has give access to compliance, improve access to compliance. Because if you have a process that is not too cumbersome, you can easily decide that you want to comply, because it's getting very straightforward. But nonetheless, the issue of gap is still playing a big role. Poor internet connectivity, downtime, is really hampering the drive that the custom management team is bringing to table. But in all, there's been an improvement.
But there's a huge complaint. I was at the single window event a few days ago.
Yes.
And the Biodogu, which is indigenous innovation, was a big issue for freight forwarders.
Yes.
So how do you think that has fared? And what, I said indigenous, why is custom finding it difficult to be able to, you know?
The Biodogu thing still go back to the issue of infrastructure. The connectivity is poor. I think the custom management team, in their efforts, and I want to put it that in their hurried effort to make a difference, hurriedly to make a difference within a short period of time, they did not put a lot of factor into consideration at the design stage. And when you want to have a project as big as that, the design matters. If you take a whole year to design, by the time you launch within 30 days, people should see the difference. But they went ahead to do a lot of things without considering too many factors.
Was there any form of consultation or even collaboration before this was rolled out?
As a freight forwarder, none that I'm aware of, even though we embrace it, we want it to work for the betterment of this country, our economy, and the practice. That is what I talk about design stage. At the design stage, I'm not sure any freight forwarder was part of the design stage. Now you have NAFDAC trying to hop into that program. You have the bank trying to find a way to be able to transmit, to have handshake with the program. You have Pre-Shipment Inspection Agency trying to find a handshake with the program. So these are the design error. Nonetheless, the management team are very keen to make it work. They are working around the clock I think what they need to do is to seek help, if necessary, so that the Nigerian system can be better for it.
Do you think you have any time frame in when this issue, which I think is big, the way freight forwarders talk about it, can be resolved to be able to ease operations?
I want to think that the customs should be bold enough to come and put an answer to that question. That has not happened yet. While people still hope, we keep hoping and praying and really believing that it's going to work.
Sad, really. So let's go to your regulator. How will you assess the core role of the Council of Registered Freight Forwarders of Nigeria, that's CRFFN, in terms of enforcing regulation, capacity building, professionalism, and the needed balance of practitioners' interest? Do you think they are doing enough? And if not, what do you think must change?
Yeah, thank you. That's a very beautiful question. Council for Regulation of Freight Forwarding Practice, as the name encompasses, their core function is to regulate and build capacity. Not until very recent time, with the advent of the new registrar, that we have the benefit of them talking about capacity building. Their major function is capacity building and regulation. But when you have a system, a government agency designed for such purpose and are not properly equipped, I believe they do not have the fund to carry out their mandate, and the freight forwarder are not better for it, because around the port facility, there is nowhere you can see the presence of anything called CRFFN. I don't see their channel of complaints and their resolve to resolve issues within record time. So that has been an issue. More or less, to me, they are like a paper tiger, if I'm allowed to use that. Though there's been some concerted effort recently. I'll give it to the new registrar, because for the first time, I can be held accountable to my position. We have a practitioner fitting in that office, because he was a fit person.
So you have the right person there?
I believe so now. And that is the reason why personally I want to give him all the support we can muster, because he's one of us. He should be able to speak our language and understand what we are discussing. But I still think the issue of funding has been a very big issue for CRFFN. Most recent time, the staffs are complaining of non-payment of salaries. The motivation is not appropriate, and governments will still need to do more. The Minister of Blue Economy, under his purview, should do something about it. Daily, CRFFN is still making money out of the ports, but then how come they do not have access to funds to drive their mandate? It's a very big gap. I need to be sorted.
Okay, the practitioner's operating fee, is it, should it be a source of revenue for CRFFN? But you answer that question after this short break. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you are just joining us, this is Maritime Read, and I still have with me Abdulazeez Mukaila. Before we went on that break, I asked the practitioner operating fee, should it be a source of revenue for CRFF? And then the saga around it has raised questions about transparency and stakeholder consultation. Who should be held accountable? Who really benefits from this POF? And how does it impact day-to-day freight operations? And what reforms would prevent this a familiar reoccurrence? Because there's really been an issue around this fee. So educate us about it.
Yes. The Council for Regulation of Freight Forwarding Practice, as the name tells us, their funding ought to be of that of government. When this council was set up, they are on the budget of federal government of Nigeria. So to answer your question straight, POF is not supposed to become the main source of their funding, because they have a mandate to do what they need to do in the port. But the schism that happened suddenly because of the PF is what is playing the downfall of CRFFN. PF now became the main focus. In fact,
because they can't get other source of
they can't
funding
get
from
other
government.
source. And another misstep, you ask who is actually getting this money. The consultant that was engaged, I think SW Global, thereabouts,
They are the ones collecting this
this money. They have a platform to take the money at source per every shipment, and they've not been very transparent. You will recall that all the relevant government freight forwarding association at the inception of this program went to table with them. We drafted an agreement that once you do all these payments, the POF, at the end of the year, there should be some agreement. I can't recollect the percentage again, but up to date, nothing has been paid to any practitioner as a way of a kind of remittance right from the inception. The non-transparency of the SW Global to the template of CRFFN and poor funding processes has really makes their mandate to be
Okay,
a
so
downward trend.
since we have a face behind the collection of POF, we now know who collects it.
Yes.
So do you support an independent audit or judicial review? What immediate transparency measures would you think would restore the trust of amongst practitioners?
I think the first thing the Minister of Marine and Blue Economy should do is to invite the collectors and deep down to know what actually has happened. I will agree with you that a real forensic audit should be conducted to know where the funds are and what has happened to the fund.
How much has it been collected?
Of course, up to date.
Because it's like there's no figure.
There is no figure to it.
From the end of CRFFN, I don't think there's figure
They don't.
to how much that has been
The
collected.
CRFFN are even in the dark. I read recently where the CRFFN registrar said he doesn't even know what is going on. And that
probably he doesn't even know who collects the POF.
He doesn't know.
Oh, sad.
So they are now trying to meet SW Global to come to table. Let's know what is going on. How can you have a consultant that kept you in the dark? That tells me that there are some powerful forces.
Then who employed the consultants?
The same organization that was being kept in the dark. So a lot is going wrong with CRFFN, and government need to do something about it.
So are you saying that this POF, this company is larger than CRFFN that employed it?
There is something more sinister about it. The government needs to find out truly.
Wow. Wow. Okay, so there's a persistent complaints about unethical practices, corruption, unprofessional service in freight forwarding. How can integrity and accountability be strengthened within the freight forwarding system to be able to gain the trust of Nigerians who use the services of freight forwarding?
Yeah. As you well know, freight forwarding practice is a global trend. Is not practiced by rule of the thumb. There are specific rules that every practitioner and the protocols that you need to follow. I think the most important aspect where we got it wrong, and that is where the unethical sharp practices fester, is the point of admittance. How do you admit people who want to be a practitioner? In other climes, there are exams to be written yearly, even while when you are getting your license. You don't just continue to have it for life. There should be a way to ask you questions, exams in Singapore, if you still understand the trend. Because the trend is evolving and it's at a very fast speed, okay? Since it's a global practice, the whole world are moving on. Nobody is waiting for you. It's a moving train. So the point of admittance and the commitment to follow up with compliance level of the practitioner, those two aspects is missing. Those two aspects is missing. I used to say that as a custom broker is like the Nigerian driver license now. When we were young, you go and you have to do driving tests.
Go to driving school.
You have to.
I did.
Yeah. You do that.
you have to pass.
And if you don't pass, you don't get driver license. But gone are the day, you can be in your house and then the license will come. So Nigeria Customs Service has started, is at a level where custom licensing and the certification is like driver license. You stay at home and then you get it.
Looking at everything we have said today, so what is the clear vision for Nigerians' freight forwarding industry? And how prepared are we for a future driven by policy consistency, innovation, and global competitiveness? Because that is the core.
Of course. Yeah, I believe that I still want to go back to Nigeria Customs Service. The penchant of the news, the current Controller General of Customs, to be held accountable to global best practice is very welcoming. And I believe every other government agency should be able to do same. Okay? Because these practices are something that nobody can redesign in country by country. There is some very static agreement that governs port environment globally. So my vision for the future is that Nigeria should go back to drawing board. The government should calibrate their willpower to start, at least let's start competing in West Africa. Then we can start making a mark. Then we can now go back to a global level.
So there's nothing global for now?
Nothing. There is nothing global.
Wow.
In fact, we cannot compete in West Africa.
Wow, that's so sad. Two things: political will,
yes,
and placing revenue above mandate.
Mandate
is the key issue to all we've discussed today.
Yes.
I must thank you for your time and your thoughts as always.
Yes.
It's been Abdulazeez Mukaila. He's a custom broker. He's also the managing director and CEO, Mickey Excellency Nigeria Limited. Thank you very much for your time.
My pleasure.
And I hope that all that you have said, government is listening and be able to address this. Address political will, address mandate before revenue. Thank you once again.
My pleasure.
And that's our show this week. I hope that this episode has been able to show Nigeria's stand as modernization sweeps through global trade and the need to move from old practices to new possibilities. Join us every week on Maritime Radar as we explore how Africa can harness the latent potential of its blue economy. You can also expect the latest in global and local maritime news plus industry insights right here. I am Nneoma Obi-Asualo. Many thanks for your time and see you again next week.